This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's episode of the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Adam the Jock Straczynski. On today's show, this creep gets 15 years behind bars, as well as AEW has dropped 2 of their shows. We got the lowdown on all of that. We've got a monster pay-per-view as Backlash is taking place today. And, of course, we're going to take a look at all things wrestling, whether it's taking place AEW, WWE, maybe we slide some Impact in there, maybe we go around the world. We'll see what takes place. Doing it with me, as always, he's the one, he's the only, he is the Doc, John Macaroon. What's up, cuz?
Big week of wrestling, AEW making noise, lots of beef with AEW fans, beefing with WWE fans regarding ticket sales, so much going on. Backlash tonight is going to be spectacular. I definitely want to see how it all shakes out from Puerto Rico. I want to see definitely Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. Lots of good things going on. But one thing, though, cuz I think throughout the course of our podcast, from the time we talked wrestling on DocNJock to when we started the separate DocNJock Wrestling Podcast, I don't think you and I have just ever loved the draft. And again, it fell flat this time around, too, because it's just a pointless ceremony. It's a pointless thing to do when you have so much talent that can be sprinkled across 2 shows, even a third on main event. I just am not a fan of the draft, didn't like any of it, and you really stacked one show heavily against the other, in my opinion, and then the way in which they did certain things with their angles and storylines, it's just disappointing because I just think that you don't need it. You don't need to separate your brand. You have talent. Let the cream rise to the top. If Cody Rhodes is awesome, why do I only want to see him on a Friday? You space your shows out perfectly. It would be no problem to have Cody Rhodes on Monday and Friday.
Yeah, and I think this is the bigger problem with the draft. It's a little bit confusing, right? And we just got done with some of the best WWE product we've had in a long time with the Bloodline, where the Bloodline would show up on a Friday, where the Bloodline would show up on a Sunday or on a Monday, and you would have fantastic storylines going, following the Bloodline, following Sami Zayn. And that kind of layered off of it with Kevin Owens. And now you had Matt Riddle. And you had basically the center story, and that showed up on both Monday and on Fridays. But then you had other stories that arced off of it. And it was really interesting, and it was compelling. And it forced you to watch Monday, and it forced you to watch Friday to see how this story was going to continue to move along. And what they tried to do with the draft is, like you said, they try to split everything up, and it doesn't ever really work that way. Like, you're a Monday superstar, you're a Friday superstar. Well, we just had the draft. The draft isn't even, a whole week old, right? Because Monday was the final day of the draft. Why do I have Raw superstars showing up on SmackDown? I know we're trying to promote a pay-per-view, but we're not even a day into this, and this is what we're already doing. On top of that, it's a little bit confusing. Like, you're taking your female champions and you're flip-flopping brands. Like, watching on Friday night, I was like, is Bianca showing up with her actual belt, or does she have the other belt? And I'm just like trying to, like, what? And like, just parts of the draft themselves are just dumb. Like, you're allowed to take all of Imperium, right? And they're going to move over and they're going to be on one brand. Or you can take all of the Brawling Brutes and they're going to move over and be on one brand. But if you take Judgment Day, you can't take Rhea Ripley with them. Rhea Ripley has to be her own pick. What? Doesn't make sense. Or Roman Reigns is already on SmackDown. Why does SmackDown have to draft him? He's already there. Just parts of it don't make sense. It's all like, look, I know wrestling is one of those things where we just dispel disbelief and we just kind of let things go, right? And we just watch it for the entertainment factor. I don't actually understand, though, the purpose of the draft. It still has to be based in reality. The draft is such hyperfiction. It just doesn't fit, man. And like you said, when you have really good wrestlers, let the cream rise to the top. Let them show up on a Monday. Let them show up on a Friday. Then let them show up on a Saturday or a Sunday when you have a pay-per-view. Let them do all these things. There's no reason to sit there and segregate your roster. It doesn't make sense. And to be honest with you, parts of your roster just aren't strong enough. Like your women's division just isn't strong enough because you don't do a good job booking them. And some of the talent in your women's division just isn't good enough. So why are you going to segregate your women's division? Like, could you imagine if you had the likes of a Rhea Ripley, a Bianca Belair, an Asuka, a Charlotte Flair, a Becky Lynch? I have no idea why Trish Stratus was even drafted. She's here for a limited time only. That made no sense to me either. You took the very best of the best, and you let them go show to show and just have these wars with each other. It would be so much more compelling and so much better. It just, to me, the draft itself has kind of come and gone, and it's very, very tried. It's just, I'm over it. I'm ready to move on from it because we don't ever stick to the rules of what the draft is supposed to be, where you're only supposed to show up on your own brand. Everybody crosses brands. So, like, the brand segregation doesn't make any sense. And then parts of the draft itself just don't make sense. I'm kind of over it. I feel like we should be done with it. I feel like it's a bad creative vice that they end up defaulting to, and I feel like they have to. Now, I get that they want to use it to try to pop a rating because, look, it was going up against the NFL draft on Friday last week, and you're trying to steal some views. You're trying to steal some interest. I know in our group chat, me and you were both just homed in on the NFL draft. I didn't bother with wrestling last week. We both were in the draft, the actual NFL draft. But a guy like Kenny's like, hey, can you guys update me? Like, I'm doing stuff. What's going on with the draft? And we were both like, nah, man, we're watching football here. Like, sorry. So, like, I get that they're trying to steal a little bit and trying to keep their ratings slightly elevated. But, I mean, I don't know, man. I am over it. I really am over it. And I think with WWE, what you see is sometimes they fall back to these creative vices, or they paint themselves into corners with some of their creative writing. And you can look at this introductory third championship belt that they have. This is a belt that they're using because they can't get the two belts off of Roman Reigns. And I think you had a really easy out if you just allowed Cody Rhodes to win that match. I was thinking about it on Friday night as Cody was cutting a promo. And I said to myself, I was like, they backed themselves into such a corner that they now have to come up with this third belt, this belt that is not worthy of Roman Reigns even competing in because he's too damn good. This is the secondary championship. Again, we're doing this where we're designating one championship belt as the secondary one. This is the secondary championship. Actually, it is a thirdary championship because Roman has 1 and 2. But they screwed themselves up because you could have had Cody Rhodes beat Roman. Could have sent everybody home happy. We all would have been pumped. It would have been a cool ride. We could have finished the story. We could have did something different with the bloodline because the bloodline at this moment in time feels like it really has fizzled out. Like, it is a lot of the same stuff, cut, copy, paste for the bloodline lately. It's just not interesting. Cody Rhodes could have been your champion. You could have went on to fight Brock Lesnar. It would have been fine. You could have did a whole story, a whole angle there. All right? And what you could have did is you could have had Cody win the belt. And I think it was the black belt that he wanted. I don't think he necessarily cared about the Universal Championship, the blue one. But you could have had Cody win the black belt, come out on Monday night and say, look, this is the only one I want. This is the real championship belt. This is the one that is important to me. And he could have laid the blue one down. And they could have did a tournament or left it vacant and had some type of tournament to crown the new champion for the SmackDown Universal Championship. And that's how you split the belts. And creatively, it would have made much more sense. You wouldn't have degraded one belt over the other, even though, as I laid this out, I did degrade the Universal Championship. But that's because that's not the one that Cody wanted. You could have still elevated that championship, having a tournament on SmackDown to crown whoever that's going to be. Instead, they end up bringing this third belt. What are your thoughts on this third championship belt? Does it feel like it is a consolation prize? Because to me, it sure does.
Yeah, and the belt is ugly. It's nasty. It's not. I mean, you slap a big W on an oatmeal raisin cookie looking belt, and it's just
you can tell Doc has kids when he's describing it as a W and an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Yeah,
that is great. That is great though. That is what it exactly looks like.
It's a horrible design belt. I mean, WWE takes the easiest and simple concepts and makes them into this convoluted. They probably did a focus group, had a bunch of designers to design that shit. You had the classic Ric Flair world title. Just that's the world champion. Dave Bautista, Booker T, the lineage. Everyone's confused. Like, okay, is the Universal Champion now starting with Finn Balor, or do you now mix it with Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels? Everyone's confused because you've done this now several times, and I just think you could have. And I know branding and everything like that, but everyone knows that when they see that belt, that's the WWE World Champion. So now you have the undisputed Universal Champion, which is also mixed with the WWE Champion, and then you got this other belt that
the oatmeal raisin champion.
The oatmeal raisin champion.
Now on.
Yeah, the fighting champion.
I like that.
Yeah, it was stupid because then you had to degrade Roman when his title reign has been epic, and people, and then of course you have Paul Heyman saying, "Hey, well, I'll just go win that belt." So then it's stupid. It's just, and that's what it is. It's just not as serious, and that's how it's gone. But with the brand split real fast, they did say it was going to officially start Monday after the pay-per-view. So they did clarify that. But it is going to be, there's still going to be some people that show up on both brands. They've said it on social media. Natalia, Roman probably. So others will just still
Sami
do it.
Zayn and Kevin Owens are going to have to because they've got both championship tag team belts.
It's stupid.
Silly.
It's silly. So now you have this fighting championship, which really, in the end, you didn't need. You don't need more champions. You just need more talent and more over talent, which you're starting to get. I think that it even takes away from the Intercontinental Championship, where you have Gunther having an epic run. You didn't need this extra belt to give to somebody, and it's just one of those things where it's pomp and circumstance because Roman is taking time off, and you want that, and I get it. But you had the former WCW World Championship is so nice. You could just give it a little more spruce and a little more shine and gold, but it's one of the most beautiful championships out there, right alongside with
it really is.
It really is. And I don't get what people that liked it saw in it. It's ugly from the start. It's too puffy. It's too much, and it is gaudy. It is nice. But I think that the way the AEW right now, the AEW World Title is the best one around. It's beautiful. I mean, I don't like the color, the way in which MJF has it, but the old traditional, when that one popped, it was beautiful. This one's gaudy.
Yeah,
it's stupid.
Just a classic belt design. Like you have a gold championship belt. I think they've gotten. I'm gonna go back to I love John Cena, but I'm gonna blame John Cena for this. Ever since John Cena had a spinner belt, they've always kind of try to figure out a way to come up with a new belt, something a little bit edgy, something that the kids are going to like, something that we could slap onto Mattel's toys and sell a bunch. That's kind of what they've done, right? That's why they went with that big W, and that's why you have the Universal Championship, and then now you have the Oatmeal Raisin Championship. So you're right. The old WCW World Championship belt, the one that hangs in your office as the replica, that one is fantastic. That is a beautiful belt. And AEW's version of their championship belt before MJF made it the Triple B belt was absolutely gorgeous as well. And honestly, even him making it the Triple B belt, I'm still okay with it because it's still a beautiful design for a belt. It's just not as it's not as luxurious as the other one, I think. To me, it really feels like they've already handpicked their winner. To me, it really feels like it's going to be Seth Rollins. And look, talking about kind of how this championship tournament is supposed to play out, it's playing out on Monday. It's the belt for Monday Night Raw. It's playing out on Monday, but then they're also having it play out on SmackDown, which goes back to some of that confusion about that brand split. It doesn't make sense. If it's a Monday Night Raw belt, it should only be taking place on Monday Night Raw. You don't need it to take place on SmackDown. But it really does feel like Seth Rollins is going to probably show up on SmackDown next week, and there'll probably be a little bit of confrontation between him and Roman Reigns. And it really does, to me, feel like Seth Rollins is winning this third-place consolation prize, the World Championship or the World Heavyweight Championship belt. What are your thoughts? Who's your early leader in the clubhouse for who's winning this belt?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that obviously Bobby Lashley would look good with that title.
He would.
He would. I think that the way in which he's been used has been, questionable over time, in which, the feuds that he got into. But no, Seth Rollins, it's his title. It's specifically discussed as a wrestling champion, and he's so over. I mean, he's getting at house shows 10-minute people chanting that song for 10 minutes. that's just unheralded. It's just great. People obviously have seen what he can do, and that's where it is. The cream rises to the top. He's worthy of a world title, so it's no problem. And you're absolutely right. They should have just split it, or they should have just said, look, in fantasy land, Roman just says, I'm one champion. I'm on this show. Fine. I don't want him title. I don't, split the titles, or you
have somebody challenge him for the other one before the brand split.
Exactly. You didn't even need to
have him show up one day.
Exactly, because the Universal title has no lineage really, other than Finn Balor got it, lost it, and then now it's been really taken over by Roman Reigns. So you could have even established the Universal title, one blue belt, one red belt. I mean, those two belts are great. You could have just did that. You didn't need to introduce a new title. But yeah, Seth Rollins for sure will win it, and he'll be over, which is fine. And I think at least now heading into it, we're not in favor of it, but there's a really good chance that Seth Rollins will make that belt special.
I hope so, because look, it's hard when you have new belts, right? We've seen this with AEW. Their AEW International Diplomacy Championship, the one that Orange Cassidy rocks, right? I don't even know what the name of it is, because the name has changed, and that takes away from some of that lineage. But Orange Cassidy has done such a good job being a fighty champion with that belt, constantly defending it. You start to buy into that championship a little bit. So if Seth Rollins is the champion, he's going to have to fight a lot, and he's going to have to hold that title for a minute, because you don't want to devalue a championship and have it be something like the TNT championship on A&E or on AEW. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. So look, the one thing that I took out of Friday Night SmackDown, Zelina Vega felt like a star. This is probably the first time in a long time you can say this. Zelina Vega showed up on SmackDown. She got a rousing ovation with the Latino World Order. Zelina Vega looked and felt like a real challenger for the SmackDown Women's Championship belt. This is the first time since they've jumped into this program between her and Rhea Ripley that you can say that. To me, she felt like she had a legit shot of winning this belt on Saturday. And I feel like WWE kind of misplayed the build for Backlash. I feel like they did that with a lot of these stories. I mean, we haven't even talked about the Seth Rollins almost. I mean, that one got zero build, and it has had zero build. It's just a match that's taking place on the card. But it really feels like Zelina Vega, her in-ring work has gotten better. I don't think she's great by any stretch of the imagination, right? And there were parts that felt a little bit clunky on Friday night. But all that being said, Zelina Vega has gotten much better in the ring. And her being in Puerto Rico, being embraced by that fan base, shows you what your baby face should be. She felt like she was the real deal Holyfield, and she was coming for that title. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Zelina Vega will never, ever, the way they book her, she will never, ever reach this height. She will never, ever feel like this ever again. And that's sad. That is really, really sad. And it's because of how WWE books her. They have misplayed Rhea Ripley's first championship defense against Zelina Vega so poorly. Zelina Vega feels almost as though she's an afterthought. She feels almost though she shouldn't be there. Like, is there anybody else? Why is she the first one in line? To me, Zelina Vega felt like such a big star on SmackDown, and I thought it was absolutely incredible. And I'm ashamed of WWE and their creative team. Did you get the same sense that she felt like she belonged, like she deserved to be in this fight from the reaction that she got on Friday night?
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. It was great to see, the passionate fans of Puerto Rico. Well deserved for them to get a pay-per-view and to get the SmackDown before. But what really kind of goes to show you is that, the month after WrestleMania, it's just there's a lot going on. So what they need to do, and just thinking about it now, is they need the May pay-per-view to be later in the month, like around the 20th. You get 3 more weeks of build to kind of flush out more stories, to tell more stories, and then you can work back. Like the next pay-per-view could be May 25th, and then you move back in June 1 week, and then July 1 week, and then you can get back to the first or second week in August for SummerSlam. But you need more time to kind of give everybody a chance to breathe. WrestleMania is a big deal. It's 2 nights, so that's 2 pay-per-views, and there's so much fallout. There's now you introduce the draft, so it's a big rush, and that's what like Cody Rhodes and Brock Lesnar. chaotic feuds was the thing, and it's fine.
Bro, we still have no idea what Brock Lesnar is beating Cody Rhodes up for.
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. You could have needed 1 or 2 more shows to build that. So, yeah, it's not the best build, but I guess, WWE Backlash sells itself. It's that, hey, we're trying to, address things and recoup and address people that have done us wrong, the backlash. But in the end, it was not ideal, and that's what it is. But for Zelina Vega, she's going to take advantage, and she's going to put on a great match. But similar to what WWE likes to do, they're going to have her lose in her home country. They should just make it the main event. Why not? Bad Bunny gets the pop, beating Damian Priest, and then Zelina Vega gets in the main event and loses. Not going to happen, but sorry, Puerto Rico, your darling is going to lose.
Yeah, to me, we had both Raw and SmackDown this week. Didn't really feel like go-home shows. They felt like they were just kind of shows. And I think it does go a little bit to what you said, right? It's been such a chaotic couple of weeks. You had WrestleMania. Now you have a pay-per-view. And at the end of the month, you're going to have another pay-per-view. So it just feels like there's a lot sandwiched here. And nothing really had a chance to breathe. Nothing really had a chance to kind of develop. It really felt like you were rushing from point A to point B to point C to get to point D. And to me, I'm not sure how you felt about it, but Raw and SmackDown really fell flat for go-home shows. They did nothing to really sell me. Now, like I said, Zelina Vega and her ovation on Friday night was absolutely incredible. But again, I still don't understand why Brock Lesnar beat up Cody Rhodes. I don't know why I should care about that match. I don't know why I should care about Seth Rollins and Omos. There's a bunch of matches on here I don't necessarily know why I should care about. The one that I understand that I should care about is Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. And how we got from them being best friends a year ago to now being bitter rivals and having a San Juan street fight, I'm just kind of like, okay, this all happened very, very quickly. Like, it happened in basically 2 shows. We went from being good friends to being bitter rivals. Like, what? This go-home package that we got from both Raw and SmackDown were just misses for me. Did you feel the same?
Yeah. It's you had chaos with Brock and Cody. All you had to do was let them stare at each other, let them push a little bit, and actually have like just a similar UFC style where they both are just staring at each other with a little wry smile and get you hyped up. Cody obviously is very passionate about why he wants revenge on Brock Lesnar, but I just think that when you do the same thing multiple times, it just naturally has the law of diminishing return. Oh, great. This time you got 40 security. Good job. And Brock, falls back on Raw. It's fine. Cody definitely has upped his promo game even to another level where each one is delivered in a way that does keep you interested. But the manner in which you want to do it is, you and I are hardcore. We're going to watch it. Would somebody from the outside just seeing that kind of want to see what's going on and buy a pay-per-view based on the build that you had? Outside of maybe 1 or 2 matches, no, I would say that you're going to get the hardcore fans and the market that you're in, but I don't think that you did enough to do extra to get people really super hyped. So you have a couple matches there, but like you said, I mean, you have another pay-per-view in a few weeks, so it's just, for me, another show, and it doesn't have like a lot of meaning. Brock Lesnar, Cody, in the grand scheme of things, great. I think Cody's going to go over, which is great, but I don't think it has much meaning. Obviously, Bad Bunny, like you said, Seth Rollins, is good to see him. Basically, it really does. They've made it feel like kind of a Saudi show where it's a big, huge event, but the stories aren't really. The one story though that could be interesting, the way in which they tell it, which didn't get also the build maybe that it could have, is when Solo tells the boys, like the Usos, hey, you guys got to hold up your end of the bargain. That was good. I thought that was good. That was interesting. That was the one thing that was interesting, was now Solo stepping up and saying, hey, you cut the shit and get your stuff together. And then that's good, because what could happen if Riddle and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens win this match? What could the impact be? So that was probably the biggest moment in the week that moved a story forward.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was the one. And look, we've had a lot of very similar stuff with the Usos and with Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Matt Riddle. That was the one that was a little bit intriguing. You were like, okay, all right, I like this. I like where this could possibly go. That was the one thing, honestly, that kind of left me like, all right, I like this, But But otherwise, it's been a bit of a poor build for Backlash. And let's jump into our predictions. This looks like it should be a pretty good card. We should come out on the other end of this very pleased with what we got. I don't know if this is going to be the kickoff match or if this is going to be the main event, but this is going to be one of the most hyped matches on this card. It is the San Juan Street Fight. It is Bad Bunny taking on Damian Priest. Who do you have winning this one?
It's so weird because you expect Bad Bunny to get popped, to get cheers, to do his thing. The dude can wrestle. The dude will smack the kendo stick. You're going to see some wild-ass stuff, maybe some Puerto Rican-type things going on in the world of fighting. But you can't have Damian Priest lose to a part-timer. I mean, that would be weird. How do you move forward from that? Damian Priest is a monster. He has to win. And you would expect there be a situation in which there's a 5-on-1 or there's a lot of outside interference and a lot of heel type stuff. But Damian Priest has to win this.
See, I'm looking at it the other way. I think Bad Bunny wins this. He is such a draw for WWE, and he is such a big star, not just internationally, but wrestling-wise. He is like the Latino version of Logan Paul. Maybe not as annoying, but he is the Latino version of Logan Paul, where he is a celebrity. They love him. They're going to back him. And the hope is that when he gets done with his rap career, he comes to WWE and he works in WWE. I've got Bad Bunny winning this. I think there will be some outside interference between the Judgment Day and LWO. But in the end, Bad Bunny gets the 1, 2, 3. We then have Cody Rhodes taking on Brock Lesnar. I have no idea why Brock Lesnar is challenging Cody Rhodes or why he beat Cody Rhodes up. I'm assuming he wants a title shot. I don't really know, though. Nobody's told me. All I know is that Cody Rhodes is pissed. I'm going to go with Cody Rhodes winning this one because I have no idea what Brock Lesnar's intentions are, and I have no idea why Brock Lesnar is even in this fight. So I'm going Cody Rhodes.
Same. I think it's going to be a great match, too. I think there's a good way to tell a story here where Brock beats the shit out of Cody, and he just keeps taking it, and comes back and puts together a great match. It's going to be a fun match to watch, I think. I think it has a chance to have a good stylistic view, especially in front of a fan base maybe that could get into it.
Now, this next match, I feel like we can get quite a bit of creative building going on. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Matt Riddle versus Solo Sikoa and the Usos. You just talked about it, right? What that final segment that we got on SmackDown between the Usos and Solo, where basically Solo taping his thumb says, you know what? You guys just do your job. I'm ready. I'm going to do my job. So you better take care of your end of the business. I love this. I think the best thing to do is have Sammy and Kevin and Matt go over, and that way you can build and you can put a bigger divide in the bloodline, and you can kind of start to segregate Solo from the Usos, and you can really go with a cool story in that direction, because it already seems like Roman Reigns has picked his favorite, and his favorite is Solo Sikoa. So you could kind of keep working that angle and building that divide, and you also have Paul Heyman whispering sweet nothings in Solo's ear. How do you see this match playing out?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you could also somehow or another build a little tension where it probably will happen where Matt Riddle does a bump on accident and gets Kevin Owens, because he seems to be the one that's most pissed at having Riddle around all the time. So while it may not cost him the match, but it plants the seed of like, dude, we don't want another friend. And I hope they don't split up Kevin and Sammy again, but you're starting to see like Kevin getting frustrated. So you're planting some seeds here, but yeah, I expect Sami Zayn. I expect a nice pop for Sami Zayn in their entrance, and I expect them to win the match.
All right. We then move on to the SmackDown Women's Championship. I think we're both going to take Rhea Ripley here.
No doubt.
As much as Lena Vega felt like a megastar on Friday night, this is a Rhea Ripley show. It's her time. Rhea's going to take that. Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Io Sky. How do you see this one playing out?
There is no chance in hell that Io Sky is going to win, because Bianca Belair rolling into the summer months is going to need to sell, and it's going to be awesome to see, because Bianca Belair is somebody the company views very, very highly, and you need to lose it to a big megastar, and that's the purpose of the next several months, is find a megastar on the ladies' side that will match Bianca Belair, because right now there's no competition.
You know, I could see there being some kind of follow-up with Damage Control, specifically with Bayley. And Io's like, you know what, I'm out. And then you have basically the crumbling of Damage Control, and Bayley's left all alone. And maybe Bayley's the one who then challenges Bianca later on down the road. I think Bianca wins this match. I think there's something funky that happens with Damage Control, and it kind of sent some wheels in motion for Damage Control falling apart. We then have the United States Championship. We've got a triple threat match. We've got Austin Theory defending his belt against Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley. Who wins this one? This one, I think, is probably the toughest one to pick.
Yeah, do you have a title change in Puerto Rico? It's going to be tough. I mean, Austin Theory looks the part. I think that, if I'm wrong, it'll be Bronson Reed. I think they've built him up to be a monster. But at this point in time, I just think that Austin Theory is the guy, and you got to continue to build him. But I would not be shocked if he dropped the title. It's going to be a good match. And I think that it just really, in the end, it just feels like you're continuing to need to build the feud between Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley. So I just think that the U.S. champion retains.
I think I like where you're going with this, right? Because this is, like I said, I think this is one of the more difficult matches to pick on this card. And I like where your head's at with this. But I think Bobby Lashley wins this match. He's the one who pins Bronson Reed. I think Austin Theory needs to get out from underneath this title. I feel like he has done as much as he can do with this title. And I feel like his character development has stagnated a little bit. I feel like they need to freshen him up just a scotch. WWE does have a habit of running their creative plans straight into the ground. We're not there yet with Austin Theory. I think we get the belt off of him, let him move on to something else. You get Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley face up, where Bronson Reed's challenging Bobby Lashley for that United States Championship. I think that belt looks really good on Bobby Lashley as well. I think Bobby Lashley wins this match. Then we've got Seth Rollins versus Omos. We both know Seth Rollins is winning this. Omos has no chance in this match, right?
Right. 10 minutes of glory.
All right. So the ones we're really only different on is I've got Bad Bunny defeating Damian Priest. You think Damian Priest is coming out the victor. And then you've got Austin Theory beating Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley. I'm taking Bobby Lashley. We look at calling the card. You've got a 1-point lead on me. It's 1.5 to 2.5 after our first couple pay-per-views of this new season. So it's been really, really close. This should be a good card. Should be really, really entertaining. Something else that was entertaining, I thought AEW put on a pretty entertaining show. That being said, I do feel like AEW has a bit of a creative problem, similar to WWE. And I posed this in our group chat, and I want to bring it here, and I want us to have a little bit of a conversation about it. But does anybody care about the Four Pillars Championship match? Is anybody interested in this? We took the most convoluted way to get here. We knew this was how we were going to go, and it took forever for us to get here. And I think MJF is a pretty good champion. I think MJF is entertaining. I think he's a great heel. I think he works well in the ring. I think he has the ability to make other guys look better. I don't think he does it as good as some of the other guys in the business, but I think he is a 5-tool player. I think Jungle Boy has work to do. I think Sami Zayn is a good number 2. I don't feel like he is on superstar status. Darby Allin, I'm still kind of trying to figure out where Darby Allin fits in all of this, because to me, if you were a fan of ICP back in the day, you used to watch some of their Juggalo wrestling, and Darby Allin feels like he's a guy straight from Juggalo wrestling, right? Like he was a dude who was lighting tables on fire and falling through barbed wire, lit on fire tables. So I'm not really sure what Darby Allin is exactly yet. But all that being said, this is the main event of one of your big pay-per-views, and I don't give a shit about it. I don't care about this match. I don't see any one of these guys having a legit shot to beat MJF. I think if there was one, it might be Sammy. But again, you got to do some more building to get me to believe that. I don't think Jungle Boy has a chance in hell. I don't think Darby Allin has a chance in hell. To me, this was a match that they put a lot of energy in, and they kind of built it in a really weird way, but it didn't really help sell the match at all. If you're trying to add layers to characters and you're trying to show some of their interpersonal differences with each other, sure. But it didn't really do anything to get me interested in this match, and it didn't do anything to get me interested or believing in anybody else being able to take the belt off of Max. Where are you at with this Four Pillars Championship match? Are you interested in it at all? And if so, is there anybody out of these four guys that you feel is worthy of the belt, whether that be Max or whether it be somebody else?
Yeah, you said it. It was just like one of those things where you and I kind of like it where the people that are in the main event kind of earn their way. And this was just like, okay, you three behind MJF, you three are here because we wanted to be here. You guys are the pillars, so here, have a match. No, Sammy Guevara is the closest. I think that when you say, do I care? Yeah, it's interesting because I do want to see how Sammy Guevara gets down in this match. What kind of match are they going to tell? How are they going to let everybody get over? You are going to elevate, but that's not... See, that's the purpose of... I don't think that's the purpose of why you use a main event, is to elevate people. I think the purpose is to have somebody, prove that they belong in the main event, not to kind of force their way into it. So it would have been nice had Sammy Guevara just beat, over the last month, systematically just beat Jack Perry and beat Darby Allin in matches. That way people, because the man has had nice feuds, he's had good matches, he's created memories. I think that you could have built up Sammy Guevara to be somebody that, okay, yeah, let's have a match and let's see what happens. But there is less than 0% chance that MJF is going to lose. So you could have the shock and swerve, but nobody will feel it's justified. MJF is the biggest star. And really, in the end, what it is just a forced way to get these guys over. And they will. It's good. It's not a horrible violation, because what's going to need to happen is those three have to, in the match, put on such a great show that people believe, and they will. Darby's going to take some crazy spots. Sammy will. It will deliver as a match. So in the end, I think that the desired purpose will be accomplished. But in the end, MJF is going to shine above all of them by winning and moving forward.
Are you interested at all? We've got AEW coming to Detroit. Honestly, I totally forgot about it up until this last week's episode. Are you going? Are you interested in this? It looks like it's going to be a stacked card. We've got Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega in a steel cage, so that should be entertaining. Where are you at with next week's episode? Because I really feel like this week's episode helped build to this upcoming week's episode. This upcoming week's episode seems like it is going to be jam-packed.
Yeah, see, for me, it's going to be a last-minute decision. I looked at tickets. I said, do I want to go? The problem is just on a Wednesday, it's a long day, and the show starts at 7. And the problem is that they tape shows afterwards. It's going to be... I was
going to say, we know from last time when we went, it takes too long. I had to leave early last time because I had to go to work the next day. And
exactly. So
you somehow muscled through.
Yeah, chances are I'm going to sit back and enjoy it from home. But I look at it and I say, it might be a last-minute decision just to go down there, get a cheap ticket. But I doubt it, because it's just so much to do and so much happening. And then next week in the NFL schedule is minicamp, so for rookies. So there's a big day on Saturday. So you can't just be wearing yourself out. There's so much going on. So it's a good show. It'll be great, I think, from Detroit. He did put on a good card, but I doubt I'm going to be in attendance. And tickets are fairly priced. You can get in for a pretty good, like $30 if you want, to get a higher up seat and just sit and watch it. But I just think that, for now, this one might be one I pass on.
Yeah, I think I'm going to skip this one too. Like you said, last time we went, it was a good time. It was a really good show.
It had its fill. Yeah, I mean, a cage match for an hour with high spots and shit. It's a lot. It was good. It did its job. It's just it's a long. It's like, if you're going, put your hard hat on, because it's like going to work. It is a long day, man. Yeah.
It's a whole lot of wrestling at the very end of the day. Was there anything else from AEW that struck you or that you really, really liked? I know we both were able to take in the deletion match that aired on Rampage. There's an extended cut on YouTube. I thought it was interesting. I thought it basically went back to a lot of the classic stuff that made the whole broken character very interesting. I thought it was entertaining. If you want to go out of your way and you want to be entertained because you liked the deletion character, I say go watch it. I don't think it's going to revolutionize anything. It did reintroduce you to a young Maxwell, which I thought was funny, but otherwise it was just kind of playing some of the greatest hits.
No, yeah, exactly. It was good. AEW kind of now is in the position where there's a lot of focus on their Wembley show, so I'm very fascinated to see how that progresses. You just love the stuff going on with Kenny Omega. Obviously, the BBC is doing great, so I'm enjoying what's going on with the Blackpool Combat Club, and I just think that the stuff that they got going on is top notch, and Wheeler Yuta still is doing his thing, being part of that group, holding his own. So I enjoy seeing him part of that group and his development. But Jon Moxley, man, it's good to see that group together. And now you can just kind of see where maybe Claudio can elevate, and Daniel Bryan Danielson being the ultimate heel on the mic has been good. I think he's been taking that role to a great degree and seeing him kind of say, okay, I'm going to take the mantle as the talking head of this group. So it was good. I think that the one interesting thought, to see, I think it was Sheeta come back and then portray that maybe she was going to join the bad group and become heel, only to turn around and turn on Saraya and the group was interesting. She definitely enjoyed wielding that.
Did you feel like that was like hastily booked?
Yeah,
like I hated that.
Yeah, it was. She went to her outfit was weird with those shoes she was wearing, trying to wield a kendo stick. But whatever was going on was a little unique in regards to that. But AEW, like you said, when you say, "Do you care?" Yes, it's interesting, but it's not top notch. It's not like where you feel like, hey, the best wrestlers are fighting against the other person standing across from them. That is the best feud at this time. It's a lot of middling. I mean, yes, it's going to be interesting to see Jay White and how he's progressed with Ricky Starks. Very good with Adam Cole and Chris Jericho. You're starting to build that to be interesting. So you got a couple feuds that are solid, but the rest you need a little more in the mix in the middle. That's intriguing. Very good stuff at the top, but I just can't help it, man. Across the internet, you see how many people are laughing at Keith Lee for whatever gimmick they're trying to use with him. People are just dying laughing at how bad that gimmick is, and they just don't want to see that dude looking like he's 80 years old in a robe.
Yeah.
So
it's rough, dude. It is. I don't know. Like, look, I'm all about reinventing yourself, but
not that.
And here's the thing: Keith Lee's a very interesting guy. Like, he is super intelligent. I feel like that guy has like a genius level IQ, and he is probably too smart to actually be a wrestler. I don't know if creatively, if some of the stuff he tries to do necessarily works with the general audience.
Right.
I just don't. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. What was your show of the week? If you have to pick one show to watch this week, which show are you watching?
Definitely SmackDown. The crowd was into it. Good show. Very much in line with setting up the pay-per-view. The crowd just added an element that was fantastic, and they were into everything. And when you see the natural heat that Dominic had during his promo, the crowd was just basically screaming their head off, not letting him talk. I thought that they were into it and they added to the show. They made themselves part of the story, and it was really good. I enjoyed SmackDown top to bottom.
Yeah, I thought SmackDown was a great show. Specifically, if for anything else, just to see the ovation that LWO and Zelina Vega got. Because to me, I thought that was a highlight moment. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Would you like some news and notes this week?
Hit me with this week's professional wrestling news and notes. What made your list?
So a little bit of an abbreviated version, but we've got some longer stories to talk about here. So this creep gets 15 years behind bars. Philip Thomas has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for the attempted kidnapping of WWE star Sonya Deville in August of 2020. I'm not sure if you remember that. It was why Sonya Deville was off TV for a while as she was dealing with these issues regarding this kidnapping. Thomas pled guilty to a number of charges, including aggravated stalking, attempted kidnapping, and armed burglary. Prosecutors said that Thomas drove from South Carolina to the Tampa Bay area with a knife, zip ties, duct tape, with the intentions of kidnapping DeVille, her real name Daria Bernardo. Thomas had broken into Bernardo's home, and an alarm was triggered before she ran away, and video footage showed him entering her home looking for her. Prior to the incident, Thomas had been bombarding Bernardo and her friends and family with threatening text messages on social media. I'll read you a few. One was, "You're going to give me what I want." Another one, "There is no way you can avoid it." Another one, "Mark my words, I'm going to SummerSlam with you as my boyfriend." I didn't understand that one, but okay. "I'm going to force you to do what I want. You might see me tonight. I've tried to warn you." Judge Barbara Twine Thomas accepted Thomas's plea agreement. As mentioned before, Thomas has been sentenced to 15 years in prison, as well as he'll get an additional 15 years of probation after that. And our final story, AEW has dropped 2 shows from their list. AEW has canceled their 2 YouTube shows, Dark and Dark Elevation. AEW Dark and Dark Elevation have often been accused by fans as little more than shows for stat padding for other less proven talent. However, it was a rare spotlight to showcase their abilities amidst AEW's large roster. According to Andrew Zarian of Wrestling Observer, the cancellation of both shows was due to the new deal signed between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery for the upcoming Saturday night AEW Collision show. Part of that deal was that all AEW wrestling content will air exclusively on Warner Brothers Discovery from now on. It's believed that ROH isn't included in that and will continue to air on Honor Club, featuring plenty of the same names that were previously regulars on Dark and Elevation. Also, with the addition of the new show, AEW Collision, that's going to take place on Saturdays on either the TBS or TNT network, it is believed that Rampage will become more of what Dark and Elevation were, be more Dark Elevation-centric, helping to get young upstart talent over, almost like a NXT version of AEW. And that's going to do it for this week's Wrestling News and Notes, my brother.
Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. If you've agreed or disagreed with any of our insights regarding wrestling, hit us up. Definitely, we're going to be watching the pay-per-view tonight. Anything that catches your attention, we'll be popping videos, making jokes, and having a good time watching professional wrestling. It's been a good week, and hopefully some of the matches will end up paying off some of these lackluster builds. But in the end, every show is an opportunity for someone to create a memory and to jumpstart their career. And you remember that, even though Drew McIntyre had his opportunity at Clash at the Castle, even though he lost, people still talked about that for weeks after. And even though his situation might be dire now in the WWE, you still remember moments that are created in front of hometown crowds. Obviously, Sami Zayn in Montreal, and now Selena Vega and Bad Bunny are going to steal the show, have an opportunity to have a great opportunity to perform in front of their hometown, and it's going to be a market that is just going to go crazy. I think it's going to be one of those WrestleMania type shows in terms of the crowd going wild, and I hope maybe there's an opportunity to do some fun things with the crowd and things like that. So it'll be fun probably during the street fight, Cody Rhodes, every opportunity that he gets to create a memory. Let's just hope he comes out of this match not injured, because there's big things ahead for him. So it's going to be a great show. Backlash. Wow, you said there was a show later. Is it Money in the Bank at the end of this month?
No, it's a show taking place in Jeddah.
Oh,
it is
Jeddah show. Okay.
Night of the Champions.
Night of the Champions. Okay, so it's interesting to see how that shakes out moving forward towards Night of the Champions. So WWE calendar, man, never slows down. But what doesn't slow down is the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast. Always enjoy the conversation, cuz can't wait to break it all down when I win the point again for my great predictions. Stay tuned. Let's see who wins it. Find out again next week on the latest and greatest edition of the Doc and Jock Wrestling Podcast.